Welcome back to Let's Talk Forestry. We are here today in the county of Cavan to talk to Marian Dempsey. Marian's journey is different to most other forest owners. Let's see what Marian has to say about her forestry journey to date.
I wanted to know what the management of a forest involved. So I did the 2 years in Ballyhaise, forestry level 5 and 6, and had more advantages than I thought, just learning about trees and getting my chainsaw qualifications, my health and safety, quad training. There was loads of other practical end of it, but the biggest thing of all, I believe, was the module on business, which meant that I had to think about how you develop a business, how you do the sums on it, which I wouldn't have had a clue of, because I did have a business idea to run forest school here. Also, I learnt a lot of computer techniques and skills. For instance, Google Earth Pro. It meant that I could have a view from the sky of the forest that would help me with designing it, or what I wanted to leave in or take out. To see them, especially when the thinning was done and they just appeared, the light that came in through them, it encourages more people to walk through them now they can see where they're going. It helps me to see the potential crop trees, to mark them and save them. A monoculture forest isn't a good idea for a lot of reasons. For instance, if a disease sets in, you lose the whole forest. Broadleaf adds a bit of colour and variety as well, but a monoculture, it was maybe a system of the past, and it has caused a lot of problems with light deprivation for maybe local communities. That's another reason why it's not a good idea. So the mix is the right way, and I think the new schemes allow for more broadleaves, which is great. This is a private forest. I use it as a business. It's the family home, but it's amazing how people might think, oh, there's a lake there with fish in it. I could maybe take a few. There's lots of trees in there. Maybe they won't miss one or two. It's the same as any farm. If there's a cow or there's a field of grain, you don't go in and take a bit of it, or think you can walk through it even, or take your dogs for a walk through it, just because it's a forest. There are public places you can do all of that. A forest owner would have issues about people not respecting the privacy, and they should. Another issue is insurance. A certain insurance company covers all farms for so much, and quite dangerous activities between tractors and slurry tanks and other machinery. Yet for forest school, and forest school trained people, we're trained in lighting a fire, we're trained in handling knives, and everybody is taught to respect the forest as far as litter goes. There's compost toilets, so you understand how you get rid of waste and how it goes back into the forest to help to grow the trees. And then I'd be trained as a forester in chainsaw, which everyone would say, oh my God, that's a very dangerous activity. And yet it's very difficult to get insurance in this country. Running a forest school session with transition years in a local town, I had to get source insurance from England, and that was no problem. I still had to pay for it though, and yet I had insurance here which was quite substantial, and it wouldn't cover it. This insurance company didn't seem to want to know, and this insurance company that I am with this year's will cover social farming. So it's a matter of, not tough, but strong lobby from a certain group, because I would say, thank God, this day and age, the importance of well-being, especially your mental health, from babies right up to adults and in between, is so important, and it's For a lot of insurance companies, maybe it's tick the box and they're covering that aspect of the outdoors, but not all of it. And forest school leaders are having this trouble time and time again, and it's costing them a lot. And most of them have jobs during the day, and they do forest school at weekends, or they do it in the evening, or they do an Easter camp, and they're footing the bill all along. You're not going to get rich on being a forest school leader or in social farming. You're in fact giving back. You're trying to show what real education is about. The future of this forest, we thought about that when we were planting it, that it was for generations to come. It was putting back what was there generations before we got here. It was to do with setting up a sanctuary for people and animals. Already we have a pair of squirrels, and you'll see the feeding box. Here on the lake we have a pair of water hens come. We have a heron, we've one hare I've seen. We have a pair of buzzards and woodpeckers. Beautiful colour. I haven't seen them, Packy has seen them, but I've heard the pecking. But for going forward with the management plan is to encourage more and more of that. Add to the animals and the birds that are here, especially encouraging owls. This is the family home for at least 400 years. Our children and the grandchildren will appreciate the treasure that they have and continue to keep it as that. We have marked our potential crop trees, get them high pruned, keep it tidy. I'll be able to do that myself, or maybe get a forestry student through a host scheme to do that. Like I've had forest students in here from Teagasc Ballyhaise who did their training here. So this continues to be a school for forestry students, for teachers, for children, for relations of ours, a neighbour or anyone who asked if they could walk here. And that just reminds me, a neighbour who lost their daughter maybe 2 years ago now to cancer. I have a special birch grove dedicated to her, and it's called after her. So using a forest as a memorial is another idea. I'm a fluent Irish speaker, and it's very important for everyone to know their own language because it's part of who they are, and the forest lends itself to developing that because every tree has a name, every tree has an origin. And even this Ogham stick, a piece of cherry wood that was made for me, and it has the Ogham language written down on it, actually not down, up, you come from the bottom. And it says Forest School on it. The wood itself lends itself to teaching our ancient history, our writing and customs. So it'll continue to be a school, and the timber from here will end up as bushcraft on somebody's shelf or dresser, could even travel abroad. Tidying up just the edges where we would have planted Leylandis years ago, that needs to be addressed, and it's actually been addressed today as you're here, and maybe the noise is interfering with the sound. And later on you'll see, during the last storm, we had 3 or 4 trees. They were Leylandis here a long time, and they got blown over. But again, they're another whiteboard as such for teaching, because you can see the whole root structure. It all came up with them. They're there a long time, and they're twisted and they've regrown, and they're in a bad way. So the wind has done a service to us by taking at least 3 of them down, and now that's part of our management plan, is to sort them out, and because the gap is blocked where that wind came through. So just to keep loving the place really, and get other people to love it too, and use it at our invitation. Farmers are reluctant to give over their land, I know, to trees because the money is in the dairy or beef maybe, but To have trees on your land, apart from the view and the enhancement of your property, you've got nature, a reserve there for nature. They're sucking in the carbon, the air is clearer, so you're doing your bit for the environment as well. I had a group of primary teachers here in 2019. I managed to convince the local education centre to run a forest school for primary teachers as a summer course. 15 teachers came and we did forest school exercises like lighting fire, cooking, education on plant identification. They learned how they could get the courage to take their children themselves and their children outside, because as a former primary teacher, you're very apprehensive about taking children outside. You'd love to, but health and safety and stipulation in schools meant the barriers are building up all the time. There are other forest school leaders in this area alone, so it's got very popular. And the 2 teachers who run forest school actually have a background in special education, which is even more important because the person with special needs doesn't function very well in the classroom. It's too closed, it's too boxed in. They need the outdoors and nature. Nature's very soothing and that's what they want. The benefits of learning outside for anybody, from the baby in the pram to the person who takes their last breath, is it's connection with nature. And we're natural for a start. We forget that. The thinking nowadays is nature something totally separate from us all. It's out there and we're in here, or we're in the office or in the school or in the car or in the factory. And nature has nothing to do with us. But if you think of everybody's needs, we have 5 needs: to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to feel that we contribute and that we belong. No matter what tribe you're from around the world, everyone feels that. But in order to experience that, you have to use your senses. And we're told you have 5 senses, but through forest school I learnt there's at least 67. There's our own Stella O'Malley, she's a psychologist, and she's written a book, or a number of books, but one of them is about cotton wool kids. And cotton wool kids is being protected by health and safety. Risk, better not do that. So there's no risk involved in anyone's life. So how do you take the risk of learning how to drive? How do you take the risk of thinking about starting up a business if you're not experience risk in very small ways? The outdoors opens you up to that, to see. And I'll have to demonstrate this to you. We teach owl eyes, so we get everybody to look straight ahead and you wave your fingers like this and you keep looking straight ahead. And when you can't, just about the edge, when you can still see your fingers, and pull them back in if they've disappeared. And then you get back to the middle again, and again you're looking straight ahead, wiggling your fingers, and when you can just about still see them, you've just mapped your peripheral vision. And we're all so used to now, from babies, God help us, looking at one spot. So you're focusing on one point instead of missing all of this. I'm as culpable as anybody. I drove to school 9 miles for 33 years and I never saw the scenery along the way until lately, because I was focused on where I was going, my classroom program for the day, maybe a shopping list, what I was going to do for the dinner. I can't remember a lot of days how I got to school or how I got home. And that's the case with most of us. Think about it. So when you get used to just exercising what I just said to you, owl eyes, because that's the way the owl, we're learning from nature. If you think about the deer has ears that turn to hear sound. So in forest school we teach to listen behind you, listen to the front, and it sounds totally different. And you'd see eyes pop when they see the difference of that. So people become aware, it's developing awareness. And then we go to the nose of the dog. What can you smell? They're saying about smelling the roses. We don't even smell fresh air. We've forgotten the senses. So I won't go through the other 67, but if you think of the sense of space where you are, a sense of balance, like am I balanced, or especially if you're on grass, your sense of being balanced is different than if you're on concrete or tarmac. If you feel that, oh no, I think I'll go this way today. Like if you're driving to work or you're riding your bike, you go the same way every time. Following the same way and the same thing every day, monotonous, like what does that do to your brain? And if you were suddenly to say, no, I think I'll go this other way, it's the same distance anyway. I'm just going to go a different way today. And you'd be surprised what something, different traffic, different experiences you'd have going that way. And you kind of arrive at work as a not totally different person, but somewhat different. The difference in the vista you have if you're out in the open, doesn't matter, you don't have to be at forest school. You could just be going for a walk in the forest. And the difference of that and the classroom. And you're sitting there for 6 to 8 hours, think about it, not moving. That's not natural for the body. Nature is the educator, and the education system is starting to get it. The health service is getting into it as well. There's enough studies to show that if you were a patient and you're looking out the window at a tree, another patient is in the bed and out the window is just a wall. The person looking at nature heals quicker. And there are hospitals now, it's more prevalent in England, say, so you get green prescriptions. Your GP will give you a green prescription. You don't go to the chemist, you go to the forest. Or the farm, you go for an outdoor walk, and that's the healer. And eventually people in that situation begin to realise some of the medication they're on already they don't need. And once they get out into nature, they have that more confidence. Before I did the forest school, after I left school, I didn't retire, I refired with an F. And an F for refire is light the flame and get out into the nature and experience the water on the mountains and the hills, what I used to believe was real teaching. But I couldn't teach about it unless I experienced it. So that's what I did. I was at the bottom of a river, falling out of the canoe more often, and at the top of a mountain clinging on with my fingernails and enjoying the thrill and the terror and the danger of it. I didn't tell the family a lot about what I was up to until it was well over and I managed to survive, maybe a broken toe, but a canoe fell on that. It wasn't even a proper accident in the outdoors. I am totally convinced in my body and in my head that the outdoors is the real teacher, is the real healer for the world. But yet as a world, we are pillaging it, pulling out of the ground, taking the trees out all over the world. And Ireland polluting, not just Ireland, but thank God there's a bit of a halt on it now with regulations about protecting the waterways and buffer zones and all of that. So we're learning, and it's not too late. It's not too late because nature will repair itself given a chance. We have to give it a chance.
That's all for this month on Let's Talk Forestry. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back again next month interviewing another forest owner at a different stage in their forest life cycle. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you to all those who have already subscribed and left their comments to our previous episodes. All comments are read and replied to. Look forward to reading more of your comments. See you next month.